Quiet on set. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Let's Poddy podcast with your host, Benji Weatherly. It's the podcast where you learn absolutely nothing.
Today, I have a good friend that not only is one of the most prolific photographers of our generation, as far as definitely with pop culture but surfing especially. In the last few years, you've taken this North Shore book that you've been working on for 10 seasons?
It's 10 seasons, yeah.
And I'm with Justin J, my good friend. He's actually a California kid.
I'm a transplant.
I consider him a New York.
I mean, I think once you have 20 plus under your belt, I think I could.
How long you been here?
Yeah, over.
So you're a New York G.
But I still keep my California license. I never give that up.
I live in Hawaii and I have a California driver's license.
I got fucking jury duty a couple weeks ago. I had to be like, no, I don't.
California?
Yeah, in Santa Barbara. Like, they don't play around. They'll come get you too.
Tell them where you're at. You're in the Lower East Side. I'm right next to the Chinatown. But yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff I want to, get through today with you. But my podcast right now, working title that might have been stolen from me because I've taken too long to get my potty out there, is Let's Poddy. And if not, it's going to be Scam Likely. I like that one too. So every time I start my podcast, I tell them the title, and it's changed 3 times. Okay, so
drop them all.
I know. So the good thing about it, the title that I've kind of let go of is it doesn't really matter. The title is what it is. It's all about the substance and how good of stuff comes out of the conversations we have. So today we're in West Village, which is right where Sex and the City was filmed, that I found out. So that was some knowledge got dropped on me. So I've been walking around going, oh my God, I saw that in this episode. Actually, I've never seen one episode. So I've been joking about knowing all the spots.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
My girlfriends over my lifetime have definitely watched it. And I'm like, man, oh God, she's got a pretty outfit on. But yeah, this little town is epic. And you're from the east side of where I'm at, right?
Yeah, I'm on the Lower East Side. Another good tidbit right around the corner. So this term 86, as in you've been 86 from a bar. Right around the corner, 86 Bedford Street used to be a speakeasy back in the day.
No way.
That's what
I own a bar, so this is fun. I can bring that home for some knowledge.
Yeah.
86 comes from my little town.
Yeah,
here?
there's like a little. I think there might
some
even be
asshole just was just. Yes, it's too much already. You're 86 as the first guy. That would be so cool if they had him on the wall.
But it's cool. Right around the corner, 86
No
Bedford.
way. I might have to go by there today before I leave tonight. But yeah, so tell me a little bit more about like before the surf book. When I was checking your bio out last night, not to like creep out on you, but you were working at a restaurant here in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I went to high school in Santa Barbara, and then I went to City College for like a half a semester. And
in Santa Barbara?
In Santa Barbara. And it's like, oh, there's no way this is going to be.
It's not going to be.
I can't
believe you left New York, though. How did that happen?
So, there's a girl involved at some point. I came here, I guess the year after I graduated from high school, came out here, to visit over Christmas time and kind of just fell in love with the city. And it's like, oh, you know what?
How old were you?
I guess 19 or 18 when I visited.
Teenager?
I moved here when I was 19.
You're following girls that young? Your parents are like, what are you doing? And you're like, I don't know.
That's funny. She was actually from Santa Barbara. She was going to school here at Parsons, came out to visit her, fell in love with the city. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to move here for 6 months. And it's been, 20 plus years or whatever.
And they just accidentally got into photography from roommates, or what was it?
Kind of. I had taken photography like in high school as an elective, and I always thought it was fun, but I didn't really see it as a career path or anything, and just happened to get this big storefront. It was like a legal storefront, like 1,600 square feet. We had a pool table, and it's this cool kind of like holes in the ceiling, but a lot of space.
Where you're at now, still like Chinatown area?
She's like on more east, a little farther north. It's like an Avenue C and 3rd Street, which is like kind of rough back then.
And then this is 90s.
This is 90 when I first got that place.
1990. Wow, that's wild.
But 3 of my roommates were photo assistants at the time, so I was waiting tables and just serving pasta to assholes, and they were like hanging out with hot models and like traveling, doing all these cool jobs. And the day rate back then was like whatever, $150 or what. It was basically what I was making waiting tables. So I was like, shit, maybe I'll try and do this. Yeah. So I made a switch and kind of and back then this is like pre I mean, definitely pre-social media. It was like pre-Craigslist. It was all just like
pre-internet.
Word
almost,
of
right?
basically it was just word of mouth. It was like this network of photo assistants that all kind of knew each other and got dialed into that. And you know, after a while, I was like, well, shit, I can do that. You know, the funny thing is, I got to work for everybody from like close friends of mine to like got to work with like Richard Avedon and you know, Matthew Rawson, some really big names at the time. And ironically, like the people who were like really amazing and on top of their game were like kind of more discouraging than inspiring because they were just so, I was like, I can't compete with that. But it was like the kind of the schlubs that you'd work for. They were like, oh, I could definitely do that.
And you know,
what inspired
not
me.
to stop your story, but the reason I tell people, I have like 3 photographers in my life that I've shot photos with. And one of them is Seth from New Jersey. Seth, gosh darn it, what's his name? We call him Yum Yums. He owns an ice cream shop down there. And Seth Stafford.
Yeah.
And he was my favorite surf photographer to ever go on trips with because he would legitimately get the best photos that anyone could get without bugging anybody. And he would do fly on the wall shit where you would literally at the end of the trip go, did you get any photos? Like he never contrived a photo. I've never seen him go, hey, will you sit there and will you do this? Will you do that? Because when you do that, the photos just never, ever look right. And when I hung out with you the first time, I didn't even know you were a photographer. Like I saw you with a camera kinda, but I didn't know you were a photographer. That's what made this story so great when I found out who you were and found out how good you were at what you do. And I told someone the other day, I go, he's a fly on a wall. Like he goes out and he gets a shot of Jay-Z when Jay-Z is eating food. And Jay-Z has no idea he got a photo, but the photo is so real and so cool that you can't really make that shit up. So when I see fashion photographers that I've shot with and all the people, and they get these really contrived photos and they're yelling and screaming and making people run around and all that stuff. And you're like, bro, this is a nightmare. You know, like you're not an artist, you're a human being. We're all just humans here. And then like the art comes from it because you're working together with somebody instead of one person demanding everyone to do stuff. And I think you really nail it with that. Like the best story about me and Justin was when we were hanging on the North Shore. And I have like, you know, insight to all the best houses that are right at Pipeline during the contest. I can get in and hang out. And it's just normal for me because I've known all these people forever. But no photographers ever go there. And just Sherman kind of got in there a little while, but he kind of got clipped. But he would always kind of get behind the scenes. And you came with me just that one day and got that one of Eddie Vedder with Kelly, which is in Kelly's house hanging up still.
Nice.
And just a couple of shots that you did that day, I was like, oh no, you're a really good photographer. I was like, I didn't want you to shoot photos because I didn't want to freak anybody out, but oh, they love your photos. And everyone just like, when you show them, I love the way you do it too. He shoots prints, like killer ones, which no one does anymore. And he gives it to people like a day after, or maybe even a year after, like
usually
later.
About a year, like the next season sometimes.
Yeah, and he'll like just slide you the photo and you're like, you see it and you're like, when did you shoot that? You're like, we were eating dinner and I don't remember you having a camera. And he's like, yeah, I just did this. So it always really rings really true with all my really tight friends. Like, hey, if Justin's around, he's shooting photos. Let him. He's cool. And so I just love that part about your fly on the wall. You know how you do it.
It took a while. That's not a really, when I first started shooting, and that's kind of one of the plagues of being a photo assistant, is it's really difficult to not emulate the people that you work for, especially if they're very successful. And like this was in like the mid and late 90s when like fashion was a thing.
Yeah, like Zoolander time.
Fashion Cafe and VH1 Fashion Awards and like all this shit. And I was like, oh, I want to be a fashion photographer. And like that's what I kind of, I started shooting like from the book for Mademoiselle, and it's like I was fucking horrible at it. Like I look at that stuff now and it's like cringeworthy, you know? And it's like,
I wish I was there for those shoots.
And so I had this epiphany at one point. I was like, listen, like I'm not gay. I don't love to go out every night, and I don't live or die for clothes. Like you got to have at least 2 of those, maybe 1. But it's like I had 0, and so I was just kind of in a rut. And this amazing opportunity fell into my way. Like I ended up becoming a personal photographer to Sean Combs.
So that's how you got in with all like the artists, the musicians and stuff? Is
basically a combination
Combs?
Of that. And then I guess as a result, I ended
the one
up,
of him with the baby it's 2 babies, I think, right?
2 is twins. And
His
look,
twins.
Those girls are like 14 now.
Oh, no way.
So
you got to
crazy.
get another photo with him like holding him. Like,
And his son, Christian, who's now a rapper, goes by King Combs. He's 21 or something, and like I was there for his first birthday. Like it's so crazy. But I mean, I basically my style of shooting in a lot of ways kind of grew as a result of that opportunity, because Puff is pretty much like gave me unfettered access to like travel and do his thing, but it was just understood that like I'm not going to direct him. I'm not going to be up in his grill trying to be his best friend. Like just do what you do.
So that was the big breakthrough.
That was kind of a big breakthrough for me in terms of like finding a style that
They did that. Jay-Z's and all those guys come after that. Like, oh, you're with Puffy? Or,
yeah, a lot of. I mean, it definitely opened up a lot of doors. Like I met Outkast as a result, and then kind of like ventured off and did a similar project with them.
Last night too. That was cool.
And met like the Strokes, and they're already one of my favorite bands in the world. So to get to like kind of meet them and travel with them, like it's blessed.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I mean, fashion is cool. There's a lot of good things about it, but it doesn't ring like how your photos are forever now. Like, when you shoot a fashion show, it's like for a campaign, so it's beautiful, but you don't show kids when you're 70, like, check out this photo.
And then I've been, had struggles over the year too, because a lot of times, like, you go to events or whatever, and there's people like shooting famous portrait photographers are at this event, and like they're making money because people are commissioning the stuff, or it's like a lot of these jobs that, I would just travel with these bands just because I like them and then find a way to make money after the fact, like from the label or whatever. But, I think those photos ironically kind of have more of a shelf life because they're telling a story, and God. It's like the picture of 5 years ago model, like in a studio, it's not that interesting.
They're probably not even up to, I mean, the clothing is like Zoolander at the next year,
Yeah, or even for me, even some of the like top end portrait stuff, like you look at a portrait of the Rolling Stones from like the 80s, like, it's a little cornball, you know what I mean? But like you look at like backstage shots of them, like Bob Gruen stuff with him, or the Sex Pistols stuff, like all that backstage stuff or tour photography, I love that.
Yeah, when you see them pouring in sweat and have a shot of whiskey and they're looking in the camera like,
it tells such a good story, and so that's really what I learned to do traveling with him and all these artists, is like how to distill 2 weeks worth of living with these people into like 50 moments that kind of tell that story. And
you're doing all this with film back then, right?
Back then,
So you would get off tour and be like, I gotta go to 1 hour photo.
So I would have like a bag full of just like my like precious days, like, dude. And we're on buses and planes, and just like, it's just so, I mean, there was something special about it because it was just like, you didn't get to see anything until you got like these magic boxes.
That's what that surf trips used to be like, where the guys would have all the stuff and then one time this guy sent it to the lab and they did it the wrong stop or something, aperture or something, and ruined all his film the whole trip. And he was just like, I quit. I think the guy quit. He was from Western Australia. He was so devastated that he just quit. He couldn't believe it. And it was like, all of it was gone, just like that. And it was like, we don't know how good it was. He's like, it was the best photos of my life. Yeah. But I mean, those days are over now. Now you snap a shot and instantly you get to see what you got, right?
And it's the workflow is just very different, like it was something, I don't know. I feel like.
Did you ever do the printing thing?
Yeah, I did all that. I mean, I grew up, I was a full darkroom rat. I mean, I did it from start to finish.
They don't do that anymore at all, or they still kind of do?
It's funny. There's a resurgence. There's a lot of like hot kids in their 20s right now that are super into film,
and they're going backwards a little bit to kind of
a little bit. I mean, part of me is kind of like a little bit like, especially when you're shooting campaigns or not even campaigns, but you're shooting real jobs where there's money at stake and there's time frames, and they're like, I only shoot film. Like, dude, all right, I get it, but come on, if you know what you're doing, like it's not gonna look like film out the box digitally, but if you know what you're doing, you can make it look like anything. Like there's no. I don't know.
No, you can manipulate it so many different ways with all Photoshop.
So it's like, I mean, there's something to be said for like learning the process, but like, you won't find me in a dark room again. Like
no.
I did my bid.
No. What I want to ask is something that's more personal in your life. How is it raising a child in Manhattan? He has by the way, a 5-year-old incredible little son.
Thank you. And shout out to Jasper J.
Jasper, imagine that name. That's so cute, man.
He's a smart kid. It's really cool. He's a city kid. He has a really great sense of like self-preservation. So he's like not the kid that's just gonna like run away. Since he's a baby, I've always been like, hey, there's a sharp knife. Come here, let me see your finger. And I'll just like tap, see, this is sharp. You don't want to hurt. And he's like, oh, thanks for the heads up, Dad. It's like very like, I don't want to hurt myself.
He's 5 and he probably, if he was in Kansas, he'd be like I mean, he's like a 20-year-old. So they grow up so fast.
I was really blessed to, I had a couple good years back in 2005 and invested and bought an apartment on the Lower East Side. And the co-op that we live in, it wasn't really on my radar at the time, but it's so kid friendly, and the demographics have changed. So there's so many more kids there. So we have it was built in the 60s, so it was like for a middle class family to actually live,
parks right there for.
We have a private park. We have parking. We're pretty dialed.
Wow,
and then
cool.
I used to have for about 15 years an unobstructed northern Manhattan view, so I could see like the Empire State Building and it's just a fantastic view. And then this new development for the Essex market came in, and we lost our view. But the saving grace is that largest Trader Joe's in the nation is now across the street from my house.
God.
It's like it's actually worth it.
That's a good trade.
Worth it.
Trader Joe's is no joke. I'm going there before my flight.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of raising a kid in Manhattan, we're just like incredibly fortunate. A, to have the space, B, to have all the resources that have kind of grown into the neighborhood. And then on top of that, I share a bungalow with 4 buddies out in Rockaway, that I've had for like 15 years.
Is that the one I actually went to?
Same
that
one.
Yeah.
It's been a couple incarnations. I think you were there pre-Sandy.
Oh, it was a lot. Yeah, I was there before Sandy.
So they actually
get beat up.
So right after you were there, the following season, because it used to be like we had no hot water. It was literally a summer bungalow.
Yeah,
like
I remember it was 40s. Like I thought of it as a sublime party house. It was like dirty and there was like bongs and like it was just
we had
it looked like Mission Beach.
Yeah.
Like a Mission Beach house or something. But no one gave a shit. And like so nobody cared.
And so it used to just, we had no hot water and it was like literally a summer bungalow since the 40s and families would rent it or whatever. And then right after, probably right when you were there, the landlord's like, all right, we're going to make this a year-round thing. So he gutted it, put in insulation, put in hot water, crappy little shower stall, raised the rent a little, but it was still cool. And then like 3 months later, Sandy fucking destroyed it. Like
destroyed it?
Like, well, basically the bones are really good, but basically from the shoulder down, just gutted.
Wow, Sandy was no joke, huh?
Yeah.
Gosh, darn it.
So yeah, I mean, and the irony of Sandy and Rockaway is that, a lot of people were, personally affected and it was like a horrible event, but like from a macro level, it did so much positivity for Rockaway. I mean, the boardwalk is gorgeous.
It cleaned
the concessions
everything out,
are beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it brought a lot of attention to Rockaway. It brought a lot of funding to Rockaway. It just kind of like gave it basically a new lease,
Yeah, I mean, you guys only have so many beaches around here. You got to take care of them.
I mean, it still trips me out that, I mean, you go in the summertime and it's like, there's like wine bars and good food and rah-rah and party. And it's like, sometimes there's waves and it's amazing. But like, dude, you go like 30 blocks downtown and there's like empty deserted beaches with like shopping carts and projects. I mean, it's a really, really strange place. I love it. It used to be kind of like my little alternate reality social scene, and now it's kind of like my main, like my closest friends live there full time now. Everyone kind of grew up and bought houses.
You guys definitely have a little beach clique down there. It's cool. That's the one thing about New York is you have cliques, like as they always say, like posses. Like you guys have cliques that move around together and do stuff together. I love that. Like when I'm with Alex and the guys from Supreme and all those guys. It's like you'll see those movies with one guy with a bike and then right behind him another guy with a bike until it's 20 guys going. I'm like, hey, it's you guys again. What's up? And then they just move around together. And like the Rockaway crew's the same, like Pat and all you guys. It's like you guys have just such a cool clique.
It's a pretty special place. It's funny. We call it like there used to be the old boardwalk. You could actually go underneath it. It was like an old school like wooden boardwalk.
Yeah.
The sand had kind of been carved out. So there was like kind of like a little private VIP area that like somebody put hammocks, and it was like whenever you just go to the beach, like that would be your cheers. If you're by yourself, you like go under the board. Oh, hey, what's up? And you'd always know somebody. And that was like the local crew. Got destroyed during Sandy, and then like for a couple years after that, it was just there was construction. The beach was kind of fucked up, and like you'd be like, oh, what did you do today? Like, oh, I was at the beach. You're like, really? Like, where? I didn't even see
underneath
it. There was just like there was no like central place for everyone to meet for like 3 years, and then now it's like we kind of reestablished
that little thing underneath. The
well, it's different. You can't. It's the way the new one they built like a sand berm with grass and stuff, but that was just like a designated like crew area. We call it Baby Beach.
Where's your guys? What street is where you guys always hang? Where the bungalow is?
We're on 88th Street, and we basically hang out like right at the jetty at 88th Street. In the summertime, there's really only 2 surfing beaches that are designated for surfing, and they'll kick swimmers out of there, and they'll kick surfers out of everyone else.
What's that?
88th? Basically the jetty at 88th to 90th, and then down at 68th Street. And then postseason, like once Labor Day hits, you can surf anywhere. Yeah.
So what's next? Like what are you working on? Any other projects?
I'm kind of, so the book you were talking about is called HI1K. It's called 10 Years, 1,000 Moments on the North Shore. And we released it. We did a launch party like in December 19th, right before the pandemic. And we had a bunch of book events planned for that spring. And obviously that got canned. So, I mean, I'm just so grateful that I was able to get to be in Hawaii and like do the launch there, because it was just like it meant so much to me, and like you were there,
and
like,
you got to do it again now that it's all open. We got to do it again.
Yeah,
it's not
so
like your book's going anywhere.
That's exactly. So it's funny. So I just did an event about 2 weeks ago out in Montauk, and a good friend of mine, Celine, she's the manager of this like amazing restaurant called the Crow's Nest, and her brother.
Is that where those photos were on the wall?
Yeah. Oh no, that was. So the event was at the Montauk Beach House, and then there's a restaurant called the Crow's Nest, which is like an amazing amazing, beautiful restaurant out there. But her brother is Nick from The Strokes, so it's like the kind of weird little coincidence. And he happened to be out there, so he came to the show, which is really cool. And really catch up with him. But we were having this kind of similar dilemma, and so the Strokes put out an album about a month or two after my book came out before the pandemic. They had 100 dates booked, and obviously that's all canceled. So
they're going to redo it.
They're going to redo, but I was like, I was like, how do you feel about? At first, I wasn't excited about promoting this project. Like, I'm tired of it. It came out a year and a half ago.
But you
he was like, you gotta. If people haven't seen it, if people haven't heard the album or read your book, it's new to them.
Yeah,
like, you gotta do it. So.
And people want it more than ever right now. I mean, just last night I went and watched live music, and they were the worst cover 80s band I've ever heard in my life. And the whole time I'm like, I love this song, but I was just like, what if Amazing Band was playing right now? I'd lose my mind. Yeah. It just felt so good to be outdoors with people.
It's just the vibe. People are so thirsty for that, and I feel so fortunate. So in the last 2 months, I kind of hit the coronavirus trifecta. I went to, I got to go see Saturday Night Live with it was the first full audience since pandemic. So it was like Lil Nas X played, which is like hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So that was amazing. And the crowd, the crew were basically like crying, and it was a pretty emotional show. And then a couple weeks ago, I got to go and see the Foo Fighters at Madison Square Garden, which is the first rock show in New York City.
That's as good as a band gets.
And then last weekend, this band called the Wild Yaks, which is like a local Rockaway band, but kind of
at Rockaway. You watched it
at Rippers, the first show since the pandemic, and it was just like every person you'd ever met in Rockaway, and like kid friendly. It's like Jasper's first rock show. I put headphones on, he was on my shoulder, so I feel like we're really making up for lost time.
That's good. I know it makes you appreciate just the little things that you'd pass on just 2 years ago. But
that's the one thing I think I missed during the pandemic most is it's just like having a draft beer at a bar. You know what I mean? It's just like you get beer at the deli, you can kind of FaceTime with your friends, but just sit at a bar and drink a cold beer.
And everyone's even more chatty than they usually are in New York too. Like every time I've been at a bar here, the guy next to me, we have a conversation that I go home thinking, God, that guy was cool, man. Yeah. Like everyone's just so happy to talk and just be outside.
In terms of this spring, so I'm kind of relaunching some events for the book. So I'm actually going out to California on Friday. We're gonna have a little event in Carpinteria, in my parents' hometown.
No, that's what I was gonna ask you next. Is what was it like in your childhood at Santa Barbara? I mean, that's pretty much my favorite place in California now, Santa Barbara. And you were in Carpinteria when you were a kid?
Yeah.
That's even cooler, really.
It's funny though. It's you never appreciate it. So like I grew up going to the beach. We actually used to go up to Carpinteria before we even lived there. My parents live in the valley.
Santa Claus Beach.
Yeah, Santa Claus Lane and like tar pits.
How many sharks are there now?
There's so many
sharks, dude. I can't even believe it. I honestly feel that it's scary to surf in California. And my whole life, I used to make jokes. I was in Australia once, and these guys were like, "Are there a lot of sharks in California?" And I started laughing. And literally a month later, someone got eaten in Solana Beach. Do you remember when that guy got bit?
Yeah.
And the guy in Australia is like, "What do you mean there's no sharks?" And I'm all, "Oh my God, there's someone got bit right there. I've surfed there a million times." And then since then, all these GoPro shots, I'm like, they're everywhere in California.
I don't know. I mean, they are and they are. Maybe they're just like they're
always been there. Maybe
I think they've always been, and then now there's just more. There's more access. It's just like
all the drones are screwing this up for all the surfers, man. Yeah. These drone shots is like, oh boy, they're out there.
So I've been going to Carpinteria since I was a kid. Even my parents, I grew up in the valley until I was like 8. My parents lived down there, and we moved to Carpinteria. And so I love going to the beach. I love boogie boarding, hitting in this, just being at the beach. Yeah. And then I didn't start like surfing until I was about 16, and I moved to New York when I was 18. 19.
So you did a couple years there.
So I was never really that thick into the surf scene in Carpinteria. I didn't appreciate Rincon. I didn't know like the Channel Islands guy.
For all you non-surfers, Rincon is the best wave in California by a million times, and the best surfer I feel of all times is from there, Tom Curran. And so for him to like learn how to surf, that's a pretty cool spot to say you learned how to surf.
But, honestly, I really, if truth be known, I pretty much learned how to surf at like 90th on Rockaway. You know what I mean? Like
that's why I always think of you as
15 years off, and then when I came back, and it wasn't until someone's like, oh, you can surf in New York. And then like you had that epiphany, just like so many people.
Are you a winter surfer here?
You know what? I hate being cold, right? And that was like one of my memories of surfing in California. Even it was because you're 15, you have like bullshit hand-me-down wetsuits and like a Lido wetsuit with the removable sleeves.
It just over like seam locks, like water just poured in.
Cold. I just remember cold. That's my biggest memory of being a surfer and when I was a kid. And so I hate being cold. And so one of my clients and friends, like I work with Matus a lot, and they have amazing wetsuits. So I have solid rubber. Like I have really good kit. But I've gone soft. I don't know.
Yeah.
I usually try and
So
do
it's
like at
once
least
in a while.
one or two. Yeah,
If
just
you
to kind
need
of
to
say
get
I do
your
it.
surf on, you'll go, but it's no joke.
I mean, ironically, the best cold water surfing is like in the snow. It's actually surprisingly
right, because
warm.
it's not as. I've been in Norway and it was snowing. It was the warmest day of the
It's like
whole trip.
insulated. Yeah.
The wind's not as windy. It's just all calm.
And like, and also, the coldest part of cold water, or the warmest part of cold water surfing is the actual surfing. It's just like when you get out of the water.
It's the freezing when you duck dive your face, because your face can not handle the temperatures, but your hands kind of can.
Yeah, so pretty much the magic window for Rockaway is like you start to get early hurricanes in August if you're lucky, and then September, October, and the water's warmer than California.
Like till November almost,
Pretty
right?
much,
like November 2nd, it goes to like 30 degrees. Like,
but I mean, it's really warm, even right now. So
I've had some of the best waves on the East Coast during hurricanes in September here. Like really fun.
I mean, I remember when they had the Quick Pro out here in 2010, I think.
I went the day after that to with Ben Bourgeois. Remember the island got taken off? Outer Banks got hit by that hurricane, and then it was closed. The island, it was destroyed, and we took a boat from the backside the day after the Quicksilver Pro and got the best waves I've ever got on the mainland of America ever. We had a car and we drive up the beach and get barreled the whole way down, drive around, and nobody because everyone couldn't get on the island. So that was an experience, and it was from that Quicksilver Pro. I remember. It's pretty sick.
So I mean, but the funny thing is, my folks still live in Carpinteria. I'm going back there this week, and I go back now, and now I'm like kind of trying to figure out a pathway to get back there.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's also changed a lot too. I mean, Carpinteria used to be this like super sleepy kind of little beach town.
Yeah, it was all stony.
Carpinteria is kind of what Santa Barbara used to be, like when I was a
I
kid.
totally agree
and
with
then
that.
now Santa Barbara's like fucking Hamptons.
Almost like Montecito is
so
all the way
up.
now.
Yeah, and I mean that,
expensive.
and getting back to Rockaway, it's like it's so interesting. I mean, you can still buy a fixer upper in the 5-6s, like a house. In Rockaway, a 3-story house with a yard and a basement, and you put another 100. Like for $750, you have a renovated 3-story house.
That's insane.
Like you can't
even get a tiny apartment here.
Or in California. I mean, anywhere near the beach, True. So you put it, and nowhere in California.
Could you guys see yourself moving down to the beach here?
I thought about it. I think we kind of have the best of both worlds right now. I mean, if it really made sense, and we're going to try and beg, borrow, and steal, and double down and buy like an investment property.
Train always into the city to work and stuff, and your wife too, right? I mean,
true. I mean, I don't work every day. She doesn't, but now Jasper's in school, so that's an issue. But
is
I always
school
put
right here in Lower East Side,
right on Lower East Side. So it's like, and it's amazing school. There's like some funny kind of B-list celebrities that go there, and it's really actually it's funny. Leo Fitzpatrick from Kids. His daughter goes.
That's cool.
I saw him in the park the other day. It's just so funny. Just like you think of like his character in
God,
Kids,
no way,
and then you
that's so
think of
funny.
him holding his daughter in this park
insane.
while kids are frolicking. It's really funny.
So funny. God, when was Kids? The early '90s, right? We were little.
94 maybe, something
that was
like
such
that.
a big movie when we were kids.
But you got to put it in perspective. So say you live in Rockaway, you commute an hour. People commute an hour all the time, and they live in shitty places, not by the beach. So you got to look at it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carpinteria, I definitely still have a place in my heart for.
Do you ever shoot your friends' weddings?
I do. I've done weddings for like, strictly friends and family. It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility, and like I don't take it lightly just because I know what it means to people. I've been married, and it's like imagine if someone fucked up your wedding pictures.
Arto, the skater Arto, shot my wedding, and he just did it as a friend side action, and all his are my favorite photos. He has such a look. He has kind of like your vibe.
Yeah, I like
he's shooting, and he's just always getting the shot that you're like, whoa. It was like where you're waving, and it's like the perfect moment. He's got the eye for sure.
But yeah, it's a lot of, and it's really it's an intense experience because people are not necessarily.
The wives too. Is what they call them, wifezillas, bridezillas?
Oh yeah. Everyone's not on their best behavior. Put it that way.
I don't look good in that photo. You're like, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Are you still going to be shooting a lot of like music and entertainment and stuff? Do you still do that at all?
A little bit. I mean, the industry's really strange right now. There's a lot of changes. It's just I think it kind of especially with the pandemic, it was just like a real perfect storm of bad stuff for the industry. I mean, between like digital photography is great and kind of made it real egalitarian and accessible, and the barrier of entry for everybody is now lower. But you coupled with that, it's just like it's so crowded, and also then you take social media where it's just like there's just this white
That's so
noise of
true.
photography.
I didn't even think about that.
It's just like it's not. I think my pictures stand up to most of the whatever, but it's like that doesn't even matter. It's just so much white noise.
It's so much stuff out there now. It's hard to even make something original, right?
And then on top of that, like the changes in the industry of like the media buys and like the power of social media. It's like it's not even like there's a photography Olympics, and now there's just so many people that I feel like I'm not good enough to be able to compete. I have confidence in my ability, but there's no photography Olympics anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's funny. Sometimes I get these calls from magazines, and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't have any money, but it's going to be really good publicity." I'm like, motherfucker, this isn't 2005 anymore. No one cares about your scrappy little culture, man. You know what I mean?
So
like
true.
it's not going to move the needle for anyone's career.
True. I know things have changed so much.
Like who's on the cover of the last Spin magazine? Fuck, I don't know. Is that even a thing? I don't even know.
I heard Surfer magazine. That's how out of the loop I am. They don't even have issues. I thought they turned it into like every 3 months. And it's not even a magazine anymore. That's heartbreaking. I mean, we don't even have a surf mag anymore. It's a good time to be a young surfer because you can actually create your own image now and you can work by yourself. But it was so much fun to have a magazine and get the cover or be when it comes out in the stores, or every time a surf contest, we had to get a new one and all the surfers would get around each other and we'd go through every page together, and we're so into it. You kind of miss that now. You kind of like, now it's just a contest of who puts the most of themselves out there, which is kind of weird.
And in a weird way, surfing to a degree, but definitely it's very antithetical to the Hawaiian ethos of like, yo, I'm the shit, and like self-promotion and all that. I mean, at least me personally, I came from an era like if you were the shit, people would tell you. You didn't have to tell them,
And that was my whole generation, is if you pumped your chest, you were gone in like 1 week. Like no one wanted anything to do with you if you had even a remote ego. Now, if you don't have an ego, you're not even relevant. It's so weird. Yeah, we grew up in a time where Danny Ways and Sonny Garcia's ran shit, and you did not pump yourself up because you didn't want everyone to think you were that guy, because you would instantly be not respected. Now it kind of is just like a gray area where you wear earphones, you don't talk to kids, you do jazzercise on the beach, and then you post photos of you with no shirt on. It's like, what is going on? Like all the workout videos that pro athletes do now, it's like you work out and then you show us what you do about work. You don't show the workout. I mean, it's like you're showing us too much. Like it's too much.
I know. I feel the same way about yoga. Like people are like,
yoga's supposed to be a private
yoga's
thing.
Great and everything. Yoga's like masturbating. Yeah, it's awesome and everything, but just do it by yourself and shut the fuck up
Namaste
about
away while you masturbate.
Seriously, like you don't see me like going to get a latte in my masturbation outfit.
Yeah, that's funny. It's so true though. It is so true. Everyone wants you to see them doing stuff that makes them feel important. It should be something that makes you feel important on your own. Like that's what they say. Namaste, me and you having a moment together, whatever it means. But it's true. Like it seems like it's too contrived. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. But I mean, we're just being old grumps, to be honest. Like that's why being young now is cool, because you don't even know about the old stuff. You don't even know that it used to be way cooler. And when I'm saying that, it's just because I'm older. It's probably way cooler now. I mean, the fact that you can pick up your phone and pick up a girl and not even go outside, and she comes to your house and you just get takeaway food and Uber Eats, and then next thing you know, you have a hot girl, Chinese food, and you didn't even leave your house.
It's pretty damn efficient. Yeah, I used to have to like linger in a bar till 4 a.m. Dude,
it used to be where you're like, hey, I'll page you, then I'll call you from a payphone, and if I can get a ride to your town, maybe we'll see each other. I don't know.
Oh my god, I was rocking a pager like probably a little too late in the game, and I remember like distinct memories of like having to buy like I'd always buy bananas because it's the only way to get change. Like you buy like a pack of gum, but it's like 65 cents. You only get 1 quarter. But a banana, it's like 25 cents. You get 3 quarters back, funny. And like you knew everyone's number. I don't even know my wife's number now. That
is the craziest thing, because yesterday my phone seized up. This is a funny story actually. My cell phone finally overfull the memory. It filled up. Right. So I went to take, because I've been in New York for a month and I've taken photos like a 16-year-old influencer girl. Like it's been nuts, dude. I'm like, and I can't stop. Right. It finally stopped me in my tracks. It's like, yeah. And I'm like, and I couldn't delete. I couldn't do anything. It just shut off. And I didn't know what to do because I'm not an influencer and I'm not smart on a phone. Right. I have a smart phone, but not a smart person. Right. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I started, I think I even talked to you. I think I texted you and I'm like, bro, I don't have a phone anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do. But luckily, and this is the iPhone gods, they let me text still, but only in this house because I have internet. So I'd leave the house and the phone, nothing. And then people were calling, but it wouldn't show who, and I couldn't answer it. So I was like, oh no. And then I realized, I'm like, what if I because I didn't have any phone numbers either, and something was going on. I literally got to a point where I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I had that moment where I was like, I live by my phone. Like I'm honestly, I was almost gonna come back here because I figured it out. Hello, Google. Finally, I'm sitting here and I'm like, what if I Google how to shut off my phone? Because it wouldn't turn off, right? It wouldn't turn off. And I'm like, how am I going to turn my phone off? And then I went, maybe if I Google that. And I Google it, and like, there's a video, and the guy goes, hey, in case you're as dumb as I think, all you do is go 1, 2, 3, hold down 3, and it'll turn off. And it did. And I'm like, ah. And then I waited and I turned it on. I'm like, is this going to work? And it worked. And I was like,
all that convenience is just, it's made us dumb.
But I wanted to write down the important numbers right then. I was like, I'm going to like write them down and then I'll have them. And I was like, dude, if I lose my phone in New York too, I mean, here it's crazy. I use it for Google Maps. I use it for Lyft the bike. I use it for music while I'm writing. I'm like, at one point, I'm like, everything goes through my fucking phone. And if I do break it or lose it, my life ends.
It's so
I'm going to not be happy. And then I'm like only happy because I can use this thing. It's just so fucking scary. So I think I'm going to get a payphone at my house. No, but the thing is, I saw a guy in a payphone the other day and I didn't get a picture. That's the one thing I don't have the balls to take of the pictures of the people in New York. I mean, if you look at my Instagram, I have one where there's a dog in a backpack and she's riding a bike and the dog's flopping around, but he's so happy. And I was like, fuck it. I don't care if she gets mad. And I filmed it. But the thing is, I didn't film all the other stuff I've seen on this trip. And I'm like, God, I wish I got this one guy who was at a payphone. And he had his head up to it. I'm like, he's on a payphone. So I walked over to just take a picture and he was on his cell phone and he had the phone up against the thing. So he was using it as an office? He was using it as an office, man. And I was like, I wonder if it works. I wonder if the payphone even has a thing. He used it as his office, basically. But when I finally got to see, he had the phone up like this. He had an ear plug in like that, and he was talking to someone. And I'm like, holy shit. No, I remember that was the only way to get a hold of people, those stupid, pull over, I need to use the phone. And now we use them as paperweights now, but I don't even think they need them anymore. You can just
so crazy.
I need a charging zone.
Sometimes I'll drive to Rockaways. Like usually if we go on like a Friday night, the traffic's crazy. So like I'll use Waze and we'll go some super obscure way.
That's a good one.
It'll take you like someo's backyard. You go through a tunnel. Like I've gone to places in Brooklyn. And I was like, dude, if my phone breaks right now, like I'd have to just move here. Like, I'd start a new life.
Sorry guys, my Waze broke. Can I sleep here?
I have no idea where. I'm just dumb. I don't know. I don't know how to get there without a phone.
I mean, we're recording podcasts with your phone right now. I mean, they are pretty special little devices, but we definitely need to reel it in a little bit and have some sort of existence. I almost want to start putting my phone away for like weeks, just to see if I can handle it. I don't think I could.
Yeah, I think we're treading on old men get off our lawn territory right now.
So true. The other night, I almost pulled an old man thing. It's these people next door. But it was a joke the whole time. But it was this girl's last day, this little neighbor chick right here. And she had like 50 people. Look how small this little apartment is. She had like 50 people blaring music like 1 in the morning. Da, da, da. And I was like, damn, you guys, it's pretty rude, man. But it was laughable because I was kind of like, have fun. Like I was like pounding on the door like, woo, like just have fun. But it was pretty funny in New York, man. People are so close together that if you're rude and you're partying, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
And I'm an asshole too. So.
I know I'm starting to get that point now where like the people who stop at red lights downstairs from my apartment with like subwoofers playing. I'm just like, I want to get like a sniper paint rifle and just start lighting people up.
I know. I stayed at Brooklyn Heights. It is so quiet, right? And the first night I slept here, a fire truck was sitting out in front with his alarm. Woo, woo, woo. And it went on for like 20 minutes. And I don't even think he was doing anything. I think he just had it on as a joke. And then there was like fights. There's always fights around this corner. And nothing's funnier in New York than hearing two guys go at it. And they fight too. Like scraps right here. Fuck you. Rah, and just going out. And I'm always like, I got to go down there and see what's going on. And I looked at
there's just so much noise. And even like fire engines. Like there's always fire. I haven't seen a fire in 25 years.
Yeah,
like,
where are they going?
Seen a fire.
It's for like a puppy stuck in a tree.
Yeah.
It's too good, man. But yeah, I can't thank you enough. I was on Justin Jay's third podcast. Or about? Was it number 3?
Yeah, your first launch.
And his is called The Plug with Justin Jay. You got to check that out for sure. And I'm really grateful that you did mine.
I'll be listening. He's like a master orator, this Mr. Weatherly.
I appreciate it, bro. And I can't wait to the next project so we can do it again.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Check out his book too.
It's HI1K. It's available at hi1k.com. And we're in the process of printing a second edition right now.
Yeah,
So.
and if you love surfing or just anything to do with Hawaii and incredible surf culture, it's the mag. It's not a mag, it's a book. It's a coffee table book. It's beautiful. Check it out. And I don't know, when I get back to Cali, I'm gonna do some really good interviews with some interesting people like Justin.
All right, cheers.
Right on, bro. Take shit. Bye bye.